Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. I have a very, very special guest here for the show today. Can you go ahead and announce to the world who you are and where you're calling from?
Sure. Hi, I'm Jeffrey Charles Fleming. I'm in Washington, D.C. I'm a poet, a teacher, and an actor.
Are you from DC, Mr. Jeffries?
No, I'm from Richmond, Virginia, actually.
Cool, cool. And
Yeah,
can we go ahead and hear the juicy part about your past leading up into your present? Not juicy, but important.
sure. So growing up in Richmond, I was an actor from kindergarten all the way through my senior year of high school. And I was looking for colleges, and I knew I wanted to go to Howard because great people went to Howard as actors. Um, Felicia Rashad, my birthday twin, plenty of great actors and actresses. Um, and so I applied, and I kind of chickened out a little bit. So I switched my major from when I was applying from acting to theater administration. And then I got accepted as a theater administration major, got to school and was, taking orientation. And then they were like, you got to do this. And at the time, there was people that were, this was back in 2005. So there were guys that were very comfortable in their skin. And I was still growing to be finding myself. And I was like, nah, I don't think this is for me. And I had a peer that I met during freshman move-in, and he was like, you should consider switching over to business because you can always get back into acting anytime, but do business. So being young and dumb, I did it. Switched to business, hated the entire time. Not necessarily like Howard, but just like the business program and the rigor of it. I was not for me. And so one summer I needed to get a job so I could pay for some things in life that I wanted. And so I was a tutor back home in Richmond. And so I tutored for several summers after that. And then I went and applied to, after I graduated, I didn't have a plan set up. I just wanted to get out of school, out of the business school. And so I initially went and applied to go to Virginia Union for their Bachelor's of Science Education program to become a teacher. And they were like, no, you should go to Virginia State. They have a master's program. And I was like, okay, cool. So I applied to Virginia State. It was like August. And I got accepted, and I got a job as a graduate assistant on campus, a graduate assistant in my department and in one of the dorms. So I lived on campus that first year that I was in grad school. Finished up grad school, was still tutoring during the summer times, even though I was applying to be, a teacher every year and never got it. But as soon as I graduated, I applied to be a teacher. So I got my master's in special education and started teaching in special education for 3 years in Richmond. And then I took off some time because I was like, I want to go. I was back into acting at that point in time. So I wanted to go back into like pursuing it full time. And so I substitute taught, and then I was taking classes in DC at an acting studio. That's a Howard classmate of mine, the Mark McKinnon acting studio. And so he knew somebody that was looking for a tenant in DC, and he knew I was, interested in pursuing acting. And so he connected me with the person. And so I moved in with him. And then we started talking about, the acting experience. He went to school in DC for acting program, conservatory program. So I then followed his footsteps and applied for that same school, got in while I was teaching. So this is like crazy. I was teaching in the day and going to class from 6 to 10 at night. And I was just, it was what I wanted to do because I want to be an actor. And so there was nothing that was going to slow me down from that. And my mom was encouraging me the entire time. So that was always great. Like she was, even when I was pushing my major, she was like, why are you doing that? Because, acting is what you always want to do. But that's neither here nor there. So graduated during the pandemic. So the pandemic actually interrupted my acting school experience. And we had to go from acting in person to acting online. The weirdest thing ever. To try and think about doing a scene with somebody online. But while things were happening during that time frame, I'm still teaching. There was, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, all of that was coming at us, as well as being working and in school and sitting at home with all of that heaviness. And so I just started writing, and I didn't know what I was really writing, but I just started writing. And when I started writing, ended up turning into poetry. And so I just kept doing it. And growing up, I never was really into poetry. I didn't understand it. I couldn't appreciate it. But I've realized now that me being an actor has really helped me understand poetry, because just the words in a script, in a play or anything like that, it's poetic. It has to be, for people to act it out. And so I've just kind of embraced that and just kept going with it. And last year I published my first poetry book, and I'm working on my second one now. So yeah.
So tell me, like when you were you said you applied for Virginia Union, but you didn't get in, or you decided
I
to go
was
to Virginia State.
Yeah, I actually just called them and I was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about applying. What's the process?" And they were like, "Just go to Virginia State." So that HBCU love, I really like that. They were like, "Don't waste your time. You just got your bachelor's. Why are you gonna go for another one?" I was like, "It don't phase me none. I ain't got no other plans." So it's like I just want to teach. So whatever it takes to do that. And so that fast tracked me a little bit, um, and that was really a good experience.
How long did it take you to graduate at Virginia State University?
It took me 3 years. I had to take off a semester, and then I did a thesis instead of like a master's of education, and so I had to take an extra semester to work on the thesis. So I got my master's of science in special education.
So that's like in a doctorate's program when they do a dissertation. It's a
Mm-hmm.
small portion of that. Wow.
Correct.
I congratulate you on that. And
Thank you.
tell me about I read about the LGBT movement. Have you been to any LGBT events? And before you answer that question, when did
Sure.
you come out and what's your history behind being LGBT?
So I would say I've been gay or queer all my life. I just never fully accepted it and admitted it to myself. So if I'm not admitted to myself, I'm not admitted to other people. But I think that the process kind of started gradually around the time that I was about to graduate. Some friends of mine from college, we were actually after graduation. Um, after I graduated from Howard, we were playing game. We were at game night. I think it was Monopoly, and they just kind of asked the question. I was like, "Yeah," and they were like, "Are you gay?" I was like, "Yeah," like not a safe space. I wasn't really thinking nothing about it. It didn't phase me. And so just having that kind of safe space to be open about it was very helpful. And then over the years, I just continued to make friends with people in the community. And then when I moved to DC, and now I'm in the gay men's chorus of Washington. So that's definitely like.
Is that like DuPont Circle? Is that DuPont Circle? Because I'm from DC.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's where we rehearse. Yep.
Good.
So yeah, and I'm actually going next week to Minneapolis. We're having a conference, so the chorus has really been revolutionary for me, with just being more proud of myself. Like I went to my first Pride a couple of years ago, just like the parade, but like actually participating in the Pride events was last year as a member of the chorus. So like that was really helpful just to have that community.
I hate to ask you this question, but have you ever been
Sure.
bullied because of your what you stand for as LGBT?
Um, in today's time, I honestly, it's so weird. I don't think I've ever recognized if somebody's really being mean to me or bullying me in that way, because I lead with love so much that I'm so naive and ignorant to it. Like I'll never forget, I was in a play one time and somebody made a comment, and it was somebody I had worked with before and I knew them, and they made the comment and I didn't take it so seriously, but another white person heard it and they were like, "Oh my gosh, did she really just say that to you?" And I was just like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh, I guess that was kind of messed up for her to say," but just like there are times where I feel like I definitely will say that like growing up, I was called, faggot or things like that, but not embracing that, it wasn't really affecting me in that way because I'm just like, yeah, my mom taught me, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. And so those words never really hurt me because it wasn't somebody that was really close to me to really affect me in that way. I think the closer somebody is to you, when they say something, that's where it really hurts you more. But if somebody doesn't really know who you are at your core, then they can't really speak to you and speak that over you. So I don't really accept that and embrace when somebody says something. So that's why I think I never really got affected by it when people would say stuff.
Well said, Jeffrey. Tell me about your acting career. Has like what jobs have you landed and what jobs are in the future with acting?
That's a great question. Between the chorus and I'm talking about the future right now. Between the chorus and this poetry book, acting is on pause for me. But if anybody comes to my way and says, "Hey, I want to do something with you," I'm down for it. I'm never shutting down an idea. I'm not big into auditioning, so that's my downfall. Like, I just want to, work. I just want to act, and I don't want to audition. I just want people to be like, "Oh, I know he can do this. Call me up." But growing up, like I've had a lot of great roles. I played a Munchkin 4 times, 3 times when I was a kid, and 1 time when I was in high school. That's probably one of my favorite roles to play. But I've been in a few like little small indie films or TV show kind of things, like on the like the For My Man show. Had a little role on there. Yeah, I've done some student films, and I'm working on my own thing. That's the thing about me too. Is like I don't really like to audition for stuff, especially if it's a role that other people have played, because I'm original. Like I like to struggle through starting something brand new. So like my poetry book was something brand new to me. Um, I like to create something from the beginning and see how I can grow. So that's why I really don't like to audition a lot, because I know just I don't want to be compared to anybody. I want to make I want to be the template and not be like the copy version or looked at as a copy version.
Well said. And I have an off the wall question, and it goes like this: is it true that DC? Because I don't live there. I live all the way in Washington State now. So is it true that Washington DC is trying to make it into a state instead of a district?
They've always been trying to do that, as far as I know, like as long as I've been here. But it's a lot of local residents that really have that kind of passion and push for it. I don't know where it is right now as far as making statehood, but I know that I've heard about that since I lived in DC in 2005. So I know it's always been something that people have tried to do. I just don't think that they have gotten the right support around it. So I don't know where it stands right now.
Wow, and you actually sing. You're a singer with the Gay Men's Chorus of Washington. That's awesome. Tell me about
Thank
that.
you. So I joined last year in January 2023. Our first show that I did was Whitney, so it was a tribute to Whitney. Our season was kind of phenomenal women and things like that. So they had done a show. I think it was Judy Garland, and then they did Whitney in March. We did Whitney in March, and then our Pride show was Dolly Parton. And then being a member of the chorus, we also have small ensembles. So there are 4 ensembles. And I'm in one of the small ensembles, which is called Seasons of Love. And that is kind of like the R&B, pop, inspirational gospel kind of group. So we sing a plethora of songs. We just had our first Black History Month gospel show this year in February, and it was so well received that they're making it a ticketed event next year and like making it a thing. So that's really cool to be a part of history in that way. Um, for the chorus, for me, the chorus has been a safe haven. It's been a great outlet. It's been a family, because I lost my mom in 2022. And so I still have some family living, but we're not the closest. Everybody's family is different. But I lost my mom in 2022, and she was my rock. And so this being here, the chorus has kept me engaged in what I love to do, which I love music. I love to sing. Um, And so yeah, it's really been great to be a part of it, and to meet people. We traveled to Portland with the ensemble back in April, and I'm going to Minneapolis next week. So it's been really great just to get all the experiences that I've had with the course so far. We just had our concert for Pride Month a couple of weeks ago on the 16th at the Kennedy Center. So that was really cool. It was a premiere show. It's called Portraits, and we're taking it to Minneapolis for our conference. And we are this portrait show is 9 commissioned art pieces that have 9 musical pieces to them with 9 choreographed dances, and so it's all original works, and it's about the human experience. The show reflects the whole gambit of human experiences, and not just focusing on like being queer, but just human in general. And so it's really a beautiful show. Feel some songs that are resonating back with me. There's one called "Do You See Me," and I've just been having that on loop. I don't have it. I'll give you a little snippet. I give
a song that you would like to share with my audience.
Say it again.
Do you have a song that you would like to sing for less than a minute to share with my audience? An ensemble, whatever you call it.
Sure. I'll just give you a little snippet of "Do You See Me" because that's what's really sitting in my head right now.
Can you tell me before you start singing? Tell me about "Do You See Me." What is it about?
So I don't remember what the actual portion of it is, but it's simply a song that's talking about do you see me as a person? Do you see who I am at my core? And so that's why I think it resonates with me, because for me, and I was just writing a poem about this earlier, of like, we all want to be recognized, right? And so it's in our own way. Some people don't want recognition, but they really want recognition. They just want it to be a specific way, like introverts and extroverts. I think that we all have a way. We want to be seen in some way. And so "Do You See Me" is just basically asking, do you see me for who I truly am? Or do you see me for who you think you want me to be? That's my interpretation of it. Yeah. All right. Let me give you a little bit of it.
I'm not going to laugh because I know you're good.
No, you're fine. I'm giving you the very end.
Okay.
See me for who I am. I didn't give you the dynamics that my director would want, because she likes it to be like, and I was just like going off top. So if she happens to see this, I'm sorry, it's the dynamics of like, we're supposed to decrescendo on that. But yeah, and because I don't know how many what the legalities of it are, so I didn't want to give too much of it. But yeah,
I understand. And tell me about, well done, by the way. Tell me about
thank you.
Your poems, as far as like how, tell me 2 snippets, one from your new poem and one from your old poems books.
Okay. So I'm gonna give you the one I was just talking about. I'm gonna give you a snippet that I just wrote today, actually. I'll give you the first 2 lines. This is the newest poem I've written. Recognition comes when you have made an impact on someone's heart and filled it with joy. So that's what I was talking about, recognition, earlier. That poem came to me today. And then,
can you explain, while you're looking that one up, can you explain what it means, the snippet from
Sure. So how that poem came about, I was watching National Treasure 2. And there was a moment in there when at the very end where the guy, one of the characters, was recognized by somebody for his work, and it just hit me. It was like, Like, what is that power of being recognized wherever you go in the world for just being somebody maybe famous, or just being, yourself. I think it's very important that we try to see people for who they are with their intentions, and not what we hear from them out of their mouths. Sometimes people, there's always a miscommunication in the message that somebody might be saying and the tone that somebody might be saying it, instead of like listening to what they're actually saying. And I've learned that a lot as a teacher from my students, because a lot of times, my students might come in. I taught third grade the last 2 years, so my students might come in the morning and they're looking like, oh, like it's the end of the world, like somebody made me mad. And in my building where we are on our floor, we are, if they're coming in from the ground floor, they have to take like 3 or 4 flights of stairs. So by the time they get up there, they're probably tired.
Yeah.
So thinking about that, like that's definitely a factor. Like, I'm tired. These stairs have worn me out. And they're not always mad when they come in the morning. Sometimes they are, but like sometimes they're just tired. And so, they're little. And so they just have to catch themselves up. And so just watching them and paying attention to their body language and paying attention to like what they're saying and how they're saying it is what I really learned to like do with a lot of people. Like, it's just like, what is the actual message you want me to hear from this? Because somebody, like how people might talk in code to each other. Like, you don't have to say a whole bunch of words. Like,
Yeah.
said a lot right there, but not saying nothing. So, it's what we want people to see, how we want people to see us, what do we want people to hear from us. I think is the key to that.
I have 2 more questions. What is
Sure.
the second snippet, and what does it mean to you? And then we're going to move on to what do you know about Howard University, their history, for those who want to go there, whatever you do know.
That's a good person.
Yeah.
Sure. All right. So I'll give you a snippet of another poem. So this is, I don't remember how I broke it up, because what I have here is one poem, but I broke it up into 2 poems. But the poem is from my poetry book, My First 17, and it's called Braymai. So I'll just give you the first stanza. Memories are hard to see. Did I push for something I should have let happen naturally? That came from several experiences of people. My expectations for people were probably higher than what they were able to kind of be able to bring in a space. And so I would be let down easily. But I didn't let being let down like break my spirit. So that's where the brave mind comes from. It's like break my, but I didn't put that. And it's also a couple people's initials. So yeah. So that's kind of where that poem came from. Yeah.
Well said. Well said. And that's a great point of view. You can't see memories. Some people can say they can visualize it, but you can't really see memories. You can think about it, but I get what you're saying in your standpoint. So tell me about Howard, the history, the rich history behind Howard, and how you contributed to involving and intertwining your soul with Howard, because you're forever an alumni.
Yes. So Howard was founded on March 2nd, 1867. I'm a former president of the Alumni Club in Richmond, so I know a lot. In school, we had to take kind of like orientation on Howard. So it was founded by, it was named after Oliver Otis Howard, who was a general in the Union. Don't quote me on that. I think that's right. That feels right. I'm not a history buff for wars and stuff like that. But it was founded originally as a college for preparatory for teachers, for doctors, and all of that. So it was, I forgot the entire long name of it, but it didn't last. The long name didn't last long. It became Howard University as soon as it was opened. And so initially, the first students were not Black students. The first students were actually daughters of the people on the board of trustees, and so it's white females were the first students. But it was founded with the purposes of educating Black people. But the first students were their daughters, and so its history is rich. Everybody that comes to Howard comes because they want to be great, and we already are great just because we got in. And not to say anybody that didn't get in is not great, but admissions is admissions, and everybody has something that they're looking for when they're looking at the application. For me, Howard University is a place to refine who you are. Like, it's that place that's what does it say? Iron sharpens iron, is where your iron gets sharpened. And so once you come out so much stronger. A lot of times people go to HBCUs and they're like, oh my gosh, this experience was so horrible. But I'm like, it's going to prepare you for the real world at the end of the day. Like, college, if you're breathing through college, I don't personally feel I appreciated my experience, because granted I didn't like it, but I know that I learned tools from the business program. I was a business management major, and I learned tools from the program that I can apply to acting, to my poetry, to being an artist, to being a teacher, to anything in life. And so it's just a matter of how your perspective on everything. And so I think for me, in general, my perspective is always trying to find the glass full, not even half full, but find the glass full. And somebody might try and take something from me, but I ain't gonna let them.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So, I don't want to let you go, so I'm gonna ask you two more questions. Do you think,
Sure.
like being a teacher with a master's and a bachelor's to back you up, that teachers' pay should go up by at least $5 to $10 extra, based on the hard work y'all put in as getting your master's and everything with the thesis?
I love this question, and I'm going to yes and that question. Um, when you said that $5 to $10, it made me think about how there are memes out there talking about the cost of being a babysitter for one child, right? And the cost of being a babysitter could be $600 a week for one child. I'm working with 20.
Wow.
600 times 20, and that's just like on a weekly basis. The math just isn't mathing. I don't know what the right numbers are. I know we get summers off, but like, I'm barely making enough to pay back the loans that I have to being a teacher, and I'm working towards the loan forgiveness thing, but you need a certain number of years for that. The math is not mathing. I will say that. I don't know what the math is, but I know that there are some other people in other political positions that could stand to take a pay cut.
And it's not even about a pay cut. It's about possibly going in a deficit for the right reasons. You go in a deficit for Ukraine, go in a deficit for our teachers, our policemen, and that's all I'm saying. So the last question would be, where do you see yourself going in the future?
I'll be an artist full time. And I'm not limiting myself to what kind of art. I'm not that person that believes in you have to stay at one discipline. There's seasons for it all. So I'm currently in my poetry season. I'm also simultaneously in my singing season, but I'll get back to my acting season. I do other things. I call myself being a painter every now and then. So one day I'll get into that season heavily. It's just, I think for me, I I'm also a Gemini, so I'm an air sign. So I go where the wind flows, and right now the wind is flowing poetry, and music. Um, but yeah, I will be a full time artist. I will be a father of a human child. I have plants and a turtle right now, but of a human child or two. So yeah, that will be my future, and loving on them heavily. Probably not teaching the way I do now. I will forever be a teacher at this point in time. Like, it doesn't matter where I go, what I do. I'm always somehow teaching people something, just because it's in my DNA. Honestly, my great grandmother was a nursery school director. My grandmother was a teacher. My great aunt was a teacher. Her daughter was a teacher. My mom worked in with Girl Scouts. So just working with children, it just it's natural. Um, and so it's just one of those things that when I had that first tutoring experience, that was kind of unlocking a door that I didn't know was there, and being able to open more doors for children. Um, and also, teaching is an artistry. Like, it's such an artistry. Like, you have to be wearing 50 million hats at one time and being present at the same time while also thinking about what's coming up 5 minutes away. Like, it's a juggle. It's for sure artistry, and so I love it.
One last thing, I have to say this. Y'all on the front line every day teaching children from different environments what structure your uh, school wants these children to learn. So it's hard, like you said. I can um, relate to what you're saying. I'm not a teacher, but I can relate to what you're saying. It's very hard, and I give it to you. And like I said, the pay should go up $5 to $10, if not more.
Mhm. Thank you.
So, how can the people reach you, Jeffrey?
Instagram, Son of Howard, SonofHoward. I'm on TikTok, Son of Howard 17. Um, I'm on Twitter. Yeah, on Twitter. Like, what's my Twitter name? Son of Howard, but underscores in between son and of, and underscore between of and Howard.
Thank you so much. Stay on the line. Thank you guys
Sure.
for joining my show today. He was an awesome person. Like, seriously, give him a round of applause. Like, seriously, poet, alumni of Howard University, just wonderful character. So
Thank you.
stay on the line. Y'all take care, be safe, and I'll see y'all again.